Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Modern Church Leader. It's great to be with you this week. We are on round 3. Well, I don't know, 2.5, 1.5. I don't know. We've tried to record this thing quite a few times, but you'll be happy to know that, you know, even us techie guys that are on Zoom and Slack and doing podcasts have issues all the time. But man, I'm here with my new bud, Chris, and we're going to talk a bunch about Facebook marketing for churches today. But Chris, why don't you tell us, man, who you are, what you do, how you got into this world of digital marketing for churches, and we'll go from there.
Bro, 100%. So, man, first off, Frank, thanks for having me on the show, bro. Super excited to be here. 100%. Round 2.5, I like it, man. So, man, always love connecting with other church leaders, you know, and being able to do this kind of stuff. So, man, what's up? My name is Chris Abbott. I've been in ministry for a minute now. So I was in youth ministry for 15 years. I was a worship leader, or still am a worship leader, right, for the last 19. Mm-hmm. So I was in full-time ministry for a long time, and then started doing Facebook ads for churches around 2014. And so just I've had the chance to work with, at this point, a lot of churches over the years, you know, just, you know, helping. It started off kind of just helping friends, that kind of stuff, and evolved into a business and agency. And now I'm the co-owner of Church Marketing University with Ryan Wakefield. And so, man, I get to wake up every single day, and I have like the greatest job on earth, right? Like I get to just help churches all day long. Yeah. So it's pretty incredible. Our mission is basically just to kind of come alongside churches, right? Help them get the word out, help them get a steady stream of new visitors, so that we can make heaven crowded. And so, man, I'm pretty much living my dream, bro.
I love it. I love it, man. It is. It's pretty special when you get to do something you really love and are really passionate about, and it gets to provide a living for you and your family and your friends, right? Like
that's it, man. It's rare, but rare. Man, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. That's very cool. I mean, this whole what's cool about what you do too is like you're helping churches attract more people online. Yeah. Like, and you know, every church on the planet is about making disciples and helping people, you know, in their lives know Jesus, and part of that is, you know, getting them in the building, and increasingly part of that is connecting with them online nowadays, right? And you're kind of helping churches figure that out, which is not a skill set I think most churches, you know, have in the bag, right? Like pastors don't go to school for digital marketing. And most churches
sure didn't. I got a theology degree, and no one talked to me about digital marketing, none of that stuff.
You're like, right? I don't know where it's at in the Bible. I couldn't find it. And most churches don't have a communications pastor or a marketing person on staff. Like anybody, they may have a volunteer that's helping with like the newsletter, or maybe helping with the website. But, you know, once you go beyond some of the very basics, like websites, email, newsletter, like it kind of ends for smaller churches with volunteers that are helping with that kind of stuff, right? So having someone, you know, like yourself and Ryan and what you guys are doing at Church Marketing University come alongside and help kind of attract visitors to the church using digital tools is super cool. But tell us how you got into running Facebook ads. Like I think that the genesis of it, I think, is the coolest story. So let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah. So, you know, I spent the majority of 2014 learning Facebook ads and social media marketing, right? So I could kind of read the tea leaves and saw that was the way the world was going. So I decided to kind of jump in and become a social media marketing expert, which I laugh at now because I'm like, right, Facebook's probably changed the algorithm twice since we started talking, right? So so I went in there and started diving in, started kind of learning it, and we ended up. So it was like fall of 2014. I remember my pastor comes like running into my office, and he's like, "Bro, Abbo, you got to help me, man." We had this big back to school outreach that we did, right? Like, filled a bunch of backpacks. We had 500 backpacks full of school supplies that we bought to give out to, you know, families in need and kids that, and that kind of stuff. And he goes, dude, we forgot to advertise it, right? So normally we still got like a full page ad in like the local newspaper there. And then the local elementary school would like put it up on the marquee for us, everything like that. So we forgot to do everything. We forgot to tell anybody. So it was Wednesday. The event was Sunday morning, right? So it was like right before our 11 o'clock service, right? So we were hoping people would stick around, come to the 11 o'clock service afterwards. And I was like, bro, it's Wednesday, man. Like, what are we going to do, right? So I said, okay, there's these new things called Facebook ads. man, give me $150. I'll just run $50 a day, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Like kind of fingers crossed. We'll hope that that we can get the word out here. So I just threw together like a quick landing page on the website real quick. Right, because I'd learned to build websites because he came running into my office another day. He's like, dude, I need you to build a website because the volunteer locked us out, right? So I'd already learned that skill, right? So and I was like, okay, so go in there, build a landing page talking about the event and everything with the times, everything. And then went into Facebook and I'd been studying it for a while. I built my first ad. I was like, I think I'm doing this right, right? You know, kind of set everything up, right? $50 a day for 3 days. Okay. And so I showed up Sunday morning about 3 hours before the event, right? So I was coming in around like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I pull into campus and I look, and there's this line wrapped around the gym all the way around the parking lot, and I was just like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. What are all these people doing? Like, and I just I was like, are we doing like a like a funeral or like a wedding? I mean, it's Sunday, and then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, the Facebook ad, like, dude, they're here for the outreach. Like 3 hours early, they were lined up. Like outside around the building, around the parking lot, right? There's like little kids like with like bedhead or whatever, like eating the Pop-Tart in line. And I was just like, are you kidding me? So, dude, it was nuts, man. Like, so when we finally opened the doors, like my pastor was like freaking out. I was like, what are we gonna do with all these people? I was like, I don't know. He's like, man, what'd you do? I was like, I just ran one of those Facebook ad things we were talking about, right?
Like the internet. I don't know what I did. It's the internet.
Like, I guess the internet works. I don't know. So it was crazy, man. Like we had Chick-fil-A donated a bunch of food. It was supposed to last all morning. It was gone in 10 minutes. We ended up having we had 500 backpacks full of school supplies. It was gone. They were gone in 45 minutes just because it took 45 minutes to get everybody through the line and get everybody like backpacks and stuff. Right. So we had this long line of people that didn't have backpacks for. We're like, hey, we're so sorry. So we're like getting everybody's like information. Like, hey, we'll go out and we'll buy more school supplies this week. We'll call you, swing by the church and pick it up. It was kind of a crazy thing, right? So like, I mean, our entire gym was just packed, like shoulder to shoulder. And my pastor's like, what the heck, bro? And I was like, yeah, I think we might've just tapped into something, bro. I don't know. So, man, that was kind of the first time. And I just thought, man, if it works for backpacks, I wonder if it would work for getting people to Easter or Christmas or, you know, just getting into a regular Sunday service. And so that was kind of the genesis. That was the very first time. And it was just such a massive turnout that I was like, okay, I got to keep figuring this thing out because I don't know there's too many churches that know about this yet. So, man, it's been a wild ride, but it's been a lot of fun, bro.
And did you, so backpacks, and then did you run some ads for like the next thing at your church?
Yeah. So
like, what was funny. The next thing that you tried?
So probably like the next like legitimate thing ended up being Easter. Right. So that church, so I ended up actually like going off staff of that church about a month later. And so, you know,
pastor was like, it was too good. You got to go, man. Like
there's too many people, man, get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. So I went in, I was kind of when I went full-time entrepreneur, started a business, ended up back in full-time ministry a couple of years later, but, so kind of went out, you know, so it was actually Easter, like the following Easter, that a church came to me and I just built their websites. At that point I had a web design agency. And so just built their website and they're like, hey, what do you know about Facebook ads? I was like, well, actually I ran one time and I told them the story and they're like, can you do that for Easter? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, do you think it would work? I'm like, I think so. Yeah. Like, and it's funny because they kept asking me like, oh man, hey, we're at 37 cents a click. Is that good? I'm like, I think so. Like, this is the first time we've ever done it. And they're like, well, you know, like what other churches get? I was like, I don't think any churches anywhere are running these. Like so it was like the whole time we were just kind of figuring it out. And that church ended up like doubling. I mean, you know, they had like 2,000 people. They had almost 4,000 people, right? Somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 people showed up on Easter. And I think we spent like $400 on Facebook ads, right? And so it was just like
crazy.
It just exploded. Like they were shocked. Then more people showed up to church on Sunday than live in the town that their church is in. So they were just like, this is crazy. So from there, just I mean, it really was nuts, right? So it was kind of fun. But from there, because I just started posting online, like, hey, if you guys aren't using Facebook ads, this is crazy. Here's the 2 times I've run Facebook ads, and then people just started reaching out, like, hey, can you run ads for us? I was like, I guess, yeah. Like, and so it kind of took off from there. But yeah, those were the first 2 times, and I was like, well, this is a pretty good turnout. I don't know. I'm sure eventually you'll run Facebook ads for something that won't work. But man, those first couple of things just exploded.
Yeah. Is it still working?
Yeah, even better than it did back then. So that's the crazy thing. Like, So Apple with like iOS like 14.5 ended up having like making a bunch of changes, and so a lot of people thought, oh, I guess like kind of the heyday of Facebook ads is over. And so for a lot of businesses, yes, it was. For churches, it got way better. Like it's crazy. So like the churches that we teach like our frameworks to, like in CMU or whatever, are getting like crazy results. And we just had a bunch of churches that had some of the biggest Christmas services that they've ever had. We're getting ready to do an Easter boot camp here soon. The churches last year did the Easter boot camp, like doubled and tripled their attendance on Easter Sunday, and just had dozens, or in some case hundreds, of new families that plan a visit to their church. So I think what happened is, because it stopped working for a lot of the big guys, right? So like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Budweiser, all those big guys, they took their billions of dollars and went elsewhere with them. Right. And so it just left it like, so for all the little guys and all the churches and stuff, now you can run Facebook ads and actually reach more people for less money, which makes it even more effective and more cost effective. So, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. So, let's dig into like how you do it. Like, what's the anatomy of an effective Facebook ad campaign to drive, people to church, the Sunday, or backpacks, or, whatever, things churches are trying to drive traffic for?
So there's basically two main types of ads that I teach, right? So the first one is like an invite ad. The second one is a ministry ad, right? So the invite ad is pretty simple, right? Like basically what you want to do, like the way the funnel looks, is you want to have a Facebook ad that runs to a landing page where people can plan a visit, and then after they show up, you want to plug them into like a 12-week follow-up system. Right. So you got like Facebook ad, landing page, plan your visit, follow-up system. And with the Facebook ads, it's pretty simple. What we've seen usually works best is like a selfie video, right? So like literally like just like taking your phone or whatever,
like
right?
The camera.
Yep. That's exactly it. Right. So, because on Facebook, the hard thing is, and especially larger churches are like, okay, we're going to shoot this in our studio on like our Red camera, and like we've got all this like production equipment. I'm like, dude, that will not work. Right. Feel free to do that on YouTube. That works there. Right. But on Facebook, right, Facebook and Instagram, it's all about like organic, authentic video. Right. So when you see like your friend who's like on Facebook, like they're posting selfies, right, or like videos where they're they're sitting there like, oh my gosh, we just tried this new steakhouse and this place is crazy, like look at this, and they're like showing their food. It's selfies, right? Selfie videos. Right. So that's the best way to do it, like a vertical selfie video. I like to be walking whenever I do them, just because it makes the background a little bit more interesting. Right. So if like you're walking down Main Street, or you're walking outside your church or in your neighborhood or something like that, people are kind of looking at the background like, dude, is that Main Street? Like, hey, what church is that? Right. Like it just kind of keeps people, it stops the scroll and gets people to kind of be interested. They're looking at the background while they're listening to what you have to say. So that's really helpful. And just, shooting it vertical instead of horizontal, right? You actually want it to be vertical because it'll take up more real estate in the news feed when you do it that way. So those work really, really well. And then you're just inviting people to church, and then people click on the ad, they go to your landing page, right? So the job of your ad is just to get people to kind of stop the scroll and get them to click, right? That's all you want to do. You just want them to stop scrolling, look at your thing, go, oh, wow, like backpacks or Easter service or man, a brand new sermon series. That's kind of cool. Then they click on the ad and they go to your landing page, and then it's your landing page's job to do all the heavy lifting to get them to take action. Right. So if you're trying to get them to pre-register their kids or plan a visit or something like that, right, it's your landing page should have the right copy, the right pictures, the right videos to get people to actually click on the button, plan a visit, right, so that you can host them when they show up on Sunday morning. When we started doing Plan Your Visit, which is basically just like having a friendly person waiting for them at the front door, like having a host, it ended up increasing our visitor retention. Dude, and this is crazy, Frank, but literally we saw 80% of the people who came through Plan Your Visit ended up joining our church within 3 weeks.
Really?
Right. So like 80% of the people who came through Plan Your Visit joined our church within 3 weeks. So like from a retention standpoint and an assimilation standpoint, I had never seen anything like that. Right. Like, I mean, it was pretty crazy.
So they would
I think our assimilation was looking.
Yeah, just to step back, right? So they come from the ad, the Facebook ad. They land on the landing page. So landing page, a page on your website that's been kind of purposely designed to kind of go with this ad and get somebody to take that next step, right? And so on that page, that's where you're saying like they plan to visit. So they're filling out a form of some sort saying, yeah, I want to come on Sunday at 10 a.m. I got 3 kids.
Yep.
I'll be there. And so you're seeing people like actually fill that out, not just go to the page and kind of end up showing up, but they're actually going to fill this out and tell you they're coming.
Bro, yeah, we started doing it at my church, and we had we had 446 plan your visits in 4 months.
Wow.
Right? Like, I mean, it was just shocking the amount of families that started signing up. And really, I think the reason is it's pretty intimidating coming to church. Like when we first started doing it, it was just an idea I had. I was like, I think I could use Facebook ads to get people to sign up for this. And if we know they're coming and we can host them, like it's game over, right? Like my church is over the top with hospitality. It's just, how do you get people there and how do you take care, And so that's kind of what we started doing. And it was crazy. Like from the first Sunday we did it, it ended up working really, really well, which the first Sunday we did it was Easter. Right. So, so it kind of took off, but yeah, so it's just because I think it's kind of like having a best friend waiting for you at the front door. And so, right, we all know like the most powerful thing on the planet is a personal invite. Right. So, and I think you kind of tap into that a little bit, right? Because the idea is like, if somebody invites me, I know, okay, if I go to church on Sunday, like they're going to be there and at least I know someone and like, it's not a room full of strangers. But if you're trying to get someone to come to your church for the very first time and they haven't been invited, they're showing up to a building they've never been to, right? Yep. In a room full of people that they don't know. And they're going to listen to some pastor, like some stranger, preach at them and talk to them for like 30 to 45 minutes. And they have no idea what that person's going to say. That's pretty intimidating, right? Like they don't know what the kids ministry looks like. They don't know what
they have kids are, right? All dropping their kids off and all that. That's a whole nother, like that's kind of scary. And like, no, I get it.
That's it. And but if you had all that on your page and you had a picture of like what the kids ministry, like what a service looks like in there, and kids laughing and having fun and being friendly and that kind of stuff, right? Pictures of service, that kind of stuff, and then plan your visit, right? We would say, hey, like make sure you plan your visit. That way we'll save a parking spot for you up front. Right. We'll have somebody waiting for you at the front door. We'll introduce you around. We'll give you a tour of the place. We'll help you get your kids checked into kids church, right? We'll save seats for you in service. Now it feels like, oh, okay, like this is like having a friend waiting for me. Right. So it speeds up that natural assimilation process because they're getting to know people from the very first time they come in. They're making a connection. Now they're not worried about their kids. Like, okay, they're going to help me get the kids, checked in. I've already seen what a service looks like. Right. And it's like when they get there, you can introduce them to the kids ministry or the kids pastor, right? Like, hey, here you go. This is the Johnson family. This is their very first time. And so now the kids pastor can make sure their kids have a great time. So it works really, really, really well. And I think it just lowers the barrier of entry for a lot of people that either have never been to church, right, or haven't been in a really, really long time, right? And they're a little bit nervous about it. It just makes it a lot more accessible to visit your church for the first time.
I mean, the Facebook, there's like the tech, there's like, okay, there's the Facebook ad, the vertical video, and some written content that goes along with it. And there's the landing page that kind of helps them understand the church a little bit. What is this thing? What's the experience going to be like? What's kids like? What are people wearing? Where's it at? You give them a little bit of info on that, and then they plan their visit. So they take that step, telling you, they want to come. But then there's this whole, like, when they show up physically, there's like volunteers or staff that's been trained on how to like greet new visitors that are coming from this program. So there's almost like there's the in-person portion. Well, now churches may have some version of that anyways for visitors, but it's almost like, it sounds like having this real purposeful, like, hey, if you planned your visit, we're really looking out for you. And there's a human experience tied to that, like digital experience. That's sort of the next, that's the next step in that whole like funnel. And it sounds like it's working really, really well for churches.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's it, right? Just having someone as that next step, having somebody waiting for you kind of changes everything, right? That way, every single person who comes is making a personal connection the very first time they visit.
Yeah. What's the targeting? So in Facebook, when you're running the ad, how do you target? Like, how do you help a church in a local area run an ad that's reaching people that could potentially be good, or not good, but the right audience for that church?
So here's the crazy part, man. Like, so, and this is the part that most churches screw up is the targeting. Like, so, the crazy thing about Facebook, right? It's like, you can get so specific, right? So like when I first ran like the very first Facebook ads for that back to school backpacks, right? I was literally like, I went in there and I was like, okay, and it was a little bit more of like a rural area. So I was like, okay, I was like, man, we're going to target everyone within 30 miles of the church who is a parent and they have kids between the ages of 4 and 12. Right. Since we had elementary school, backpacks and school supplies, it made sense to just show that to the parents of elementary school kids, right, who live within 30 miles of the church. And that worked for that specific thing, right? But I think what happens is most people go in there like, oh, this is really cool. Okay, I'm going to target everyone who lives within 2 miles of our church, who's between the ages of 29 and 31, who has 3 kids who are between the ages of 4 and 6, right? Who hate orange juice, but love the Kansas City Chiefs and, hate apple juice. I don't know, right? Like there's so many, different things you can target on the back end that people get carried away with it and it's fun. But then what happens is you have all these people who live in your city who would be perfect fit for your church. And then you tell Facebook to run it to this many of them. Right. And so you over target and it's this really, really small pool of people. What I found works the best, and this sounds completely counterintuitive, bro, but literally you just want to target everyone within driving distance of your church, 18 to 65 plus, and leave the targeting wide open. Right. So every
50 miles, you just 50-mile radius kind of thing.
So it depends on what it depends on what driving distance is, right? So like for me here in Tulsa, driving distance is about 15 miles, right? Anything more than 15 miles, people will just find a church that's closer to home. Right. But so I can just drop 15 miles, but if I'm going everyone on Facebook between the ages of 18 and 65 plus in a 15-mile radius, that's 650, 700,000 people. Right. So it's a nice big pool. And the great thing is only the people who are interested are going to click on the ad and go to my landing page to learn more. Right. So all the people that don't care will just keep scrolling. Great. Yep. If those people aren't looking for a church, right, or aren't going to be a good fit, that's okay. You want to let Facebook's algorithm do all the heavy lifting for you. And their algorithm's really, really powerful. It will literally start making connections that you and I would never see. Mm-hmm. Like I went in one time and Facebook will show you like the people that are clicking on your ad, like all these different things that they like. And one of the things that I saw that all these people liked who are like clicking on our ads is like they all had, there's a place here called Incredible Pizza, right? So it's kind of like Chuck E. Cheese on steroids, right? So, this massive place where kids want to have their birthday parties. It's huge. It's like unlimited pizza buffet and all this different stuff and like more games you can see. And they have like, bumper cars and escape rooms and laser tag. And like, it was just massive. Well, I never thought about it, but it's like, oh yeah, like I was running, like I targeted all of my ad copy towards young families, but I targeted everybody, right? Because what I realized is somebody like I'm not just going to run it to young families, right? Like, because some of them, like it might be grandparents that see that ad that really want a great church to bring their grandkids to. I want those guys coming out, right? They might show it to a bunch of empty nesters who love that age. And now that their kids aren't there, they're looking for purpose or they're looking for something to plug into. And maybe they're thinking, man, we would love to go plug into that kids ministry and go or be at a thriving church where there's lots of kids. Right. And then even like younger, like millennials and Gen Z, like those guys may not have families yet, but they definitely want families someday. Right. So they would want to be at a church that does it. So I craft all the ad copy and all the creative to target like young families or whoever it is I'm trying to target, but I leave the targeting wide open, just knowing that my messaging is going to attract the right people.
Right.
And it works really well that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense and fascinating all at the same time. Like, how often are you refreshing ads? Like, or what's a campaign look like? Is it like one kind of video and kind of ad content and you just let it roll? Or do you have a bunch that are running over time that help the ad campaign do better?
Yeah. Great question. So for most churches, like depending on their budget, right, I normally just recommend starting with like one ad, right? One video, inviting people out to church, run it for about a month, and then once a month, just swap that campaign out for another one. Got it. So, there's a couple of things I found that work really well. Like if you're the senior pastor, you're doing the video, it's best to have your spouse in there, right? Like, especially if it's a male senior pastor, right? Like having your wife in there for whatever reason. And I've tested this so many times, it's crazy. But like, if you just have a dude in there and he's inviting people out of church, it's like one thing. But if you just have his wife in there, like just right, she's actually I learned this from a Pinterest expert. This woman was just like, hey, in your Pinterest profile, she's talking about Pinterest marketing and stuff. She's like, man, make sure if you're a guy that you have a girl in there, right? A daughter, a wife, a girlfriend, somebody. So like,
Right.
it basically makes you more legit. It proves to other women subconsciously that like, hey, look, this guy's not that bad. There's at least some girl that likes him and approves of him. Right. And so like, well, I tested that. I learned that years ago. I tested our Facebook ads and they like cut our cost per click like in half. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
So I always recommend that you kind of do it that way. But yeah, that's basically it. Just you can run it for about 3 or 4 weeks, right? Once a month, you just swap it out for the next one.
Yeah.
Yep. And I usually like if you run a traffic ad and you're maximizing for link clicks, like meaning Facebook's going to try to get as many people as possible to click on your ad and go to your landing page, which is what I like to do. Then what I recommend is you should definitely be under $1 per click, preferably under 50 cents a click. Okay. And if you're doing a selfie video and you did it right, you'll probably be like in somewhere in like the 20s or 30s, right? Anything under 30 cents a click, you're killing it. Like don't touch anything, just let that sucker ride. So that's normally how I look at it.
When you launch a campaign for the first time, do you normally see it start higher? Like you're in that $1 plus, and then over time, Facebook optimizes and you get better and better results.
So you would think that, but honestly, like normally, so they have a 72-hour learning period, right? Where Facebook's basically learning within those first 72 hours what types of people they're clicking on it. They start optimizing it, showing it to more people like that. But honestly, like, I mean, after the first day, if you're running like local, like church ads, it gets pretty dialed in, right? So it might take a couple of days and they'll kind of drop, but nothing crazy. Like most of the time, like if I launched an ad today inviting people to church, it would probably launch somewhere like in the 30s. Right, just based on all the ads and campaigns I've done before.
Yeah.
Right. It might launch at like 35 cents a click. And then within a couple of days, we might be down to like 15 or 20 cents a click. But it's never very high. And a lot of it, just takes Facebook a second to kind of catch up for about the first 24 hours. Right. So yeah, most of the time it just starts crushing right out of the gate.
How much do you recommend people spend? Like what should the daily spend look like?
So I love this question. I have 2 answers for it here. So, but my first answer is basically as much money as you possibly can, right? Here's what I personally believe that you should pay Facebook like an employee, because if you have a Facebook ad out there that's inviting people to church, right? Providing that's actually working, right? Mm-hmm. So you've been running it and it'll take a couple of weeks to test it. Right. You don't want to run it for a day and be like, nobody showed up yet. Right. It's like, okay, like run it for a couple of weeks. But if you have an ad that's out there that's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right, that doesn't eat, sleep, complain, do anything like that, like it literally just works all the time, and it's bringing people into your church, how many employees do you have that are doing that? Right. So if you start paying that like an employee, man, you'll see more visitors than you could have ever dreamed imaginable. A lot of times what I see is that churches are doing the right things. They're just not doing enough of it. Right. Yeah. So like they might be spending, $200 a month on Facebook ads. Right. And it's like, oh yeah, like, man, we're getting some new families and that kind of stuff. Right. And it's like, man, imagine what would happen if you 10X that. Right. And I realize fully that not everybody has.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so if you're seeing 10 guests a month from Facebook ads and you're spending $200 a month, what would happen if you went 2,000 a month? Right. Would you see 100 guests a month? Right. Probably not that many, but you might see 50, 60. Right. Like, I mean, it's just, I tested this at my church. Right. So I literally was just like, okay, I'll spend in about $500 a month. I was like, man, I wonder what would happen if we 10X this. Right. Like $5,000 a month. Obviously that's a ton of money. Right. But I bet my job on it. I literally went to my pastor. It was over the summer. And I was like, hey, I think I can grow our church over the summer using nothing but Facebook ads. Right. And this funnel that I've set up. But I want to spend $5,000 a month over the summer in order to do it. And he thought I was crazy, but I was like, listen, if it doesn't work and if I'm wrong, you can fire me. And I'll resign if you want to. Like literally, like I believe in this so much. Yeah. Like you can fire me, I'll leave staff, whatever you need to. You'll never hear from me ever again. You don't have to worry about it. Or if you want me to stick around, you can penalize me, whatever. Like, but I believe in this so much. Like I'm willing to bet my job on it. So he's like, okay, but you're responsible, right? So we went, and so it took some convincing, but so literally like May, June, July, August, I ran Facebook ads, $5,000 a month. In May, we increased our first time visitors by 42%. In June by 60%, in July by 87%, and then in August by 113%.
Wow.
Right. So, and then it was back to school and we had people flooding in the doors or whatever. Right. And it was awesome, but it was just because we just took what we'd already been doing and we just 10X'd it. right? So I realize that not every church can do that. So, right. So that's why I say, hey, like pay them like an employee, right? So for example, if you're like, man, I'm the only employee on staff right now. And the only, like, if I hired somebody, it might be like a part-time youth pastor, and I could probably only pay him $300 a month.
Right.
Okay, great. Then pay Facebook, like an employee, pay Facebook $300 a month.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So like, like if you have a bigger budget, you can put in there. If you have a smaller budget, then whatever you would pay an employee, I recommend doing that. But to get like super, super practical, and this is my second answer, anything, the more money you pay Facebook, the more people they show your ads to, right? So there's no set price. You get to decide how much, and Facebook says, okay, if you're going to pay me $5 a day, then here's how many people we'll show your ad to.
Yeah, right.
So all of the, $5 a day, $10 a day, 20, 25, all that stuff works. I've noticed a tipping point at $30 a day, right? There's something about $30 a day where Facebook starts to show, you kind of start to get some traction or whatever. I think Facebook, I can't prove this, but I think their algorithm, they just start to reward you for spending more money on the platform.
Right.
And at $30 a day, they start to show your ads to more people for less money. Right. And so you kind of get some traction. You get like kind of this tipping point at $30 a day. All right. So for churches that can start there, I think that's a great way to do it. I have something I call the 30 for 30. Right. Like, so if you run at $30 a day for the first 30 days, even if you can't run that, like after that, you say, hey, just for the first 30 days, you're gonna spend $900. Right. $30 a day for the first 30 days. What happens is it gives you enough data at the end of 30 days that you can then reverse engineer everything. Right. So you might go in there and look at it and say, okay, it looks like every time we spend, for every $50 in ad spend, we end up getting a plan your visit, right? And each one of those plan your visits is like on average, a family of 3, because sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's 6.
Yeah,
right. But now and you say, okay, great. So so you can literally reverse engineer, and then you can raise or lower your budget at the end of 30 days based on how many plan your visits you want to reverse engineer, and then you kind of know predictably how many new visitors you'll have every single Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, every church on the planet should at least try it.
I totally agree, bro.
Right? Like, give it a shot and see if it actually gets people in the door. Like, it's not super expensive. I mean, maybe the smallest of the small churches, or like a house church, or, but like most churches that, or even like church plants, man, like it sounds like church plants should be all over this kind of thing. This should be like a core part of how a church plants.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've convinced several church plants in the past, only because they asked my opinion. I didn't go telling people, but they came out and said, hey, how much of my budget should I put to Facebook ads versus direct mail? I'm like, great question. Spend 0 on direct mail and spend all of it on Facebook ads. Right. And so I had a friend of mine who he was like, all right, I trust you, man. I'm going to go all in. And so I ran his Facebook ads. He called me up a month before he planned it. I was like, dude, you should have called me 6 months ago, right? Like, we should have been like seeding the ground. We should have let people know it was coming, built up pressure for it. But I was, working with what I had. We were 4 weeks out. So like in 4 weeks, we ended up just going all in and spending his whole direct mail budget on Facebook ads instead. Mm-hmm. He ended up having 107 plan your visits and 333 people at his very first service. Right. So like, if you know anything about like normally, like you plan a church, you want to have a big launch service because the week after that, you have half of that. And then you settle at about half of that. Right. So like if you have 100 people at your launch service, the next week you'll have 50 and you'll settle at about 25 to 30. Right. He had 333 people at his very first service. Right. He settled at 150. He should have settled at like 75, 80. He settled at 150 and he broke the 200 barrier within 5 months. Because we just kept running Facebook ads to get people back in the door. Yeah. Right. And so like literally in 5 months, he went from 0 to 200 people, and he was running over 200 all throughout the entire summer. Yeah. So like it was pretty crazy. And it's just, and I've had a ton of churches do that. Every church plant that I've ever run Facebook ads for that has like spent a significant amount of their budget, right? They're like, okay, we can put $500 into it. I'm like, yeah, that's, if you're running for your launch, you want to go hard in the paint. Yeah. But I think it's the single best way to get the word out about your church, man, especially for a church plant.
Yeah, I love that. We got to go chat. We're pretty good partners with quite a few church plant networks. So we should, bring you over there and you can teach them a few things about this.
Bro, I'd love to, man. That'd be awesome.
It'd be so good. Well, man, this has been great. Like, do you have anything, I guess, in kind of wrapping it up? I'm gonna ask you a couple rapid fire questions, but in terms of helping churches do this, do you have anything online, like free resources they can download, or like, here's a script for recording your video, or here's how to put a campaign together? Like, where can we send people where they can learn a little
100%.
bit more about how to do this?
So, man, I've got over, probably like 300 videos on YouTube talking about Facebook ads, plan your visit, landing pages, all the kind of stuff we've been talking about today, how to set up a Facebook ad. There's even a couple of videos there where I literally walk you through them, like, click this button, don't click this. Here's how to set up your targeting. So if you just Google my name, Chris Abbott, ABBOTT, or Google or YouTube, you can find my YouTube channel out there. And I've got hundreds of videos walking you through all that kind of stuff. So that's one way. They're all free. You can go check it out, all on YouTube. Coming out with new videos all the time. Actually just shot some new videos yesterday. So those will be coming out here soon. And then the other thing is, we actually put together like our top 10 church growth resources. And so if you want to go grab those, you can go to churchmarketinguniversity.com/free, FREE. churchmarketinguniversity.com/free, and you can get access to you can just download those top 10 resources that we put together. There's a bunch of stuff in there that I think could probably help you. So that free resource or YouTube or both. Got plenty of training out there.
Let's go. Search Chris Abbott on the internet and you'll find it all. And everybody listening to this thing should go check it out. Like, go learn a little bit more about running Facebook ads and give it a shot, and ping Chris if you need some help. I'm sure he
hit me up, man.
Well, man, this has been great. I got a couple quick rapid fire questions to wrap it up. First one, what's a book you think every church leader should read?
Bro, okay. So I have my favorite books like back here on on here. So but I'll tell you, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you two. Number one is Good to Great, classic by Jim Collins. Right. Like talking about level 5 leadership, the window in the mirror, hedgehog concept. I have referenced this probably more than any book in my entire life. And I've read it, I don't know how many times. So Good to Great is phenomenal. And then the second one is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. Why some ideas survive and others don't. It's basically kind of the science of why ideas go viral. Right. So not just like videos and that kind of stuff, but why ideas do. And then how to craft your ideas, your sermon series, your campaigns, everything in a way that people will talk about them and create a bunch of word of mouth. So Good to Great and Made to Stick.
Love it. Those are good. Those are classics, dude. Those are like
100%, bro.
You cannot go wrong. All right. What's a podcast you're listening to right now?
Oh, man. I've been, I'll kind of bounce between a bunch. Like I listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. I love him. He cusses a lot, right? So that kind of stuff offends you. You probably don't want to check him out, but he's kind of got his fingers on the pulse of marketing, social media marketing, all that kind of stuff. But man, like my longest running podcast I've listened to for years is Amy Porterfield. She has a online marketing made easy podcast. And that's actually where I started. When I first started learning about Facebook ads, I just found her. We've never met before, but I consider her like a big sister. Like she's taught me so much about like life and business and all that stuff. So every time I'm like looking for something out,
she's speaking or something, it sounds like you got to make the connection.
Bro, that's it. I want to tell her one day because I literally like quit my job because I was listening to her and she kept talking about being an entrepreneur and that's how you can really serve the world and help way more people if you go start your business. And I was like, so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I quit my job and went out because Amy Porterfield told me to. So
I love it, dude.
We'll see.
So she's got a podcast. What's it called?
Yeah, it's called Online Marketing Made Easy.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
Simple. Well, man, this has been awesome. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you recording this twice. And, I think the second time around, it was even better.
I think so too, man. So, man, thanks so much for having me on, bro. I love doing this. Love getting a chance to meet you and hook up. This has been awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone go check out Church Marketing University, Google Chris Abbott, and you'll find all his things on Facebook ads. And guys, it's been great having you. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next week on another episode of Modern Church Leader. Bye-bye.
See you soon, y'all.